car number 1T. He's out of Clinton, Illinois. The bug out service, Twin City Mobile, Blasting Trucks Plus, and KK Graphics, number 1T of Tyler Shoemaker.
Binge raising stories about the battles we've fought.
Non-alcoholics just call that cinnamon.
Synonym.
Got the cinnamon fireball.
That's got 3 N's and 2 S's in it. The guys.
You were upset.
You don't seem upset.
Because you are the biggest competitor I've ever seen in my life.
Have you called Cracker Barrel yet?
It's not even in Washington, D.C. It's at Waldorf, which is like 45 minutes away from Washington, D.C.
But you know what? Ted Bundy was a Husky, so go ahead.
Welcome to the Ice Cold Memories Show. Here are your hosts.
He was ordering an iced coffee?
Yeah, that's what he was.
Was he at the Civic Center?
I didn't know.
Wow. Hey, welcome. Ice Cold Memories podcast. I'm Tyler Shoemaker. Colby Patelski. I'm running the sticks again because I think Steve died. I have no idea where Steve is at. And we got a special guest,
Poor
Mr.
Steve.
Jay Mounce on. What's up, buddy?
How you going? It's good to see you guys.
I think Jay's in a tornado.
I didn't even know Steve was a part of the.
You didn't
part of
know
the deal.
Steve? Steve runs the sticks. Now, honestly, he
Yeah.
brings probably the most comedic version of this whole thing. Like, our stories are good and we have a lot of stories, but Steve's perspective on our stories makes it hilarious. So we're definitely missing
That, and I'm
Steve.
pretty sure he's drunk every time he joins.
Yeah, I mean, he likes the Jack. And you know what? I'm going to talk shit about him because he's not here. So it's
Been there,
fine.
been there. Kept the old distillery
Yeah.
in business for a lot of years.
Yeah, it's been good. Jay, you had some news come out. Was it yesterday or the day before? Cade Taylor is joining the team. So I seen that with Southern Companies and JTX Forge. Yeah, well, how did that come about? I guess it was a couple days ago.
Yeah, sometime this last week. All my days run together, so it'd be hard to tell you when exactly. He had a deal in place with a company that he was, or a group of guys that he was running with the last couple years. I don't know
Awesome.
whether it's because of the way.
Yep, he got hit by a tornado. I think that's fine. He'll pop back in. So he was having issues earlier when he would plug in his phone to keep it charged. It would turn the audio off. So he's like, if I don't keep it charged, it's gonna die. So I know he was messing with the charger a little bit.
Yeah, and it looks like he's also out in his garage. Probably doesn't have the best
Yeah,
connection out there.
Well, he's out in the shop. We were talking about it before, and you know, like metal buildings, man, it just don't work for internet. We have the same issue when we're in the shop too. So
Yeah.
makes it tough. But he's like, I can't be outside because it's 100-mile-an-hour winds today.
I could hear a little bit of that.
You could?
Yeah, just like very faint in the background. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't anything massive, but yeah, it sounded pretty windy.
So yesterday when we were leaving the shop, I was hoping you were right behind me so we could test our theory on which way was faster. And then you never came. I'm like, I'm blowing his doors off. Did you go the other way or did you go out to the right? Go by the center.
I went out to the right.
We will have to line that up and see
Yeah.
what's faster and what's not.
We'll have to meet at like Casey's or something one time we go out there and
Yeah. And then we'll just roll. Or we could
Yeah.
leave from home together. He's back.
Oh, yeah, let's
He's
try that
back.
again.
Do you have to plug in your phone?
Wow. Oh, it just Wi-Fi. It's the wind.
Yeah, the wind.
Every time we get a strong gust, it just fucks it all up.
We're glad you're back with no damage. We thought maybe a tornado got you.
Yeah, no, I mean the sun's out. It's just windier than hell.
Yeah. I knew it was
That's
supposed to be
pretty
windy.
standard
We're-
here in the spring.
I don't- What's the
What's that?
temp down there?
Mid-7.
He going
Now you're
again.
both frozen.
no, you back.
He back
There
No,
you
no.
go. It's mid-7.
in 70s. Nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
I think we're
it's like
we're
55,
60 here.
60 here. It's supposed to warm
That's
back
not
up,
bad.
I think, tomorrow. Yeah.
It's
At
pretty
least the
chilly
sun's
here
out,
the
so
last
it
couple
makes sense.
days.
What'd you say?
Yeah, it was pretty chilly, or I said pretty chilly. It was low 50s here the last couple days. but
Yeah.
it's much nicer
I
today.
feel like,
Hey, let's get that southern chili at 55.
yeah, I feel like
Yeah,
we get it
yeah,
the next
right.
day. Whatever you get, like we get it the next day.
It's supposed to be hot here middle part of the week this week, so
Yeah.
you guys
Well,
should
and
be
it was,
on your way
and
to
it was
warmer.
hot. It was hot last week, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was
Oh,
hot when we
yeah.
got those.
I mean, it's been
storms
mid
that
to upper
Thursday.
80s the last. Yeah,
Yeah. Wild. But hey, I'm not complaining. I know it gets hot and I sweat a lot, but man, I would take that over snow and cold any day. I do like the fall. Like it's nice to put on a sweatshirt and whatever else.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of sweatshirts,
Well, you guys get a little more springish weather. Like it goes from cold
Right.
to hot here. Like there is no spring.
Yeah.
I mean,
You
other than
get-
today's a pretty nice spring day, but yeah,
Right.
there's no in between.
Well, I mean, you have like green grass for like maybe 3 months of the year.
And then
You're
it's brown, not because it's dead, because it's burnt. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. Well, it's been red flag warnings here for 3 months. There's been so many brush fires and field fires and shit
Yeah.
just because of the wind.
Well, and you
everything's
get the
been so
wind
dry.
too, you'll burn down the whole state.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. That's good. Colby and I went to the shop yesterday, and how I go,
Yeah.
I go a road up and then turn and then backtrack it. And Colby always goes the other way. So we were talking, we really need to go together and see which way is faster. So we could do it at the same time.
Right.
That's what we was talking about.
Yeah. Well, you got to drive the same speed then also.
Correct.
That's
Yes, we have to do
like,
the
I'm
same
gonna race you,
thing.
and then one of you drives 100.
Right. Yeah, you can't do that. You have to be the same speed. But I like doing that because then, hey, if it's faster this way, we'll start going that way.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
I mean, it's literally
I'm gonna save that
essentially
30
a block
seconds of my
difference.
day.
But
Yeah.
You know, and it's not so much the time. You know, you think, remember that movie Butterfly Effect with Ashton Kutcher? Like, you think about, okay, if I turn left or if I turn right, and your whole world could change. That's crazy.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
want to talk about conspiracy theories?
That one choice set your whole path for the rest of your life.
whole
You just don't know
thing
which
changed.
one of them was the most important. Yeah.
For sure.
And I was telling Tyler this yesterday. The only reason why I go the way I do is I don't like to backtrack on myself. I always feel like I like to be moving forward.
The way I go is one road
The
ahead.
most direct route.
Yeah. But I told Colby, I think the reason why it does it is because when I make a right turn, I don't have to stop or yield. I don't know if that's why it says it's faster. I don't. But we need to
Right.
test it.
Yeah.
What you boys sipping on today?
Little Dr.
Sponsored
Pepper
by
from
Busch Light.
McDonald's.
It's like I got my Ducks cup out. I got some brandy.
There you go.
It's all right. I got ice in it,
Yeah.
but it's fine.
Colby had enough to drink yesterday. Tea is probably good today.
He did. Yeah, he was ready to go. It was pretty funny. Dad was in there trying to. I don't know what Dad was. Dad's putting the modified together. Brandon's modified.
Oh, really?
Brandon has a modified. They decided they were going to put it together, combine the parts and whatever else. So now Dad's at the shop working.
Helping.
Yep, he's going to run it, I think. So
Dad is?
yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Because I don't know with Hunter getting to work with the lane if he's going to get to run anymore at all,
Yeah.
or how that's going to work.
Hunter's
or
going to work for
even
my
if he does want to run.
yeah. Hunter's going to work for my brother. He's going to be a farmhand. Pretty good deal for Hunter, but yeah. So he's going to be busy as hell.
For
see
sure.
How see how
That
that
time
goes.
of year.
It is.
Yeah.
It is for sure. Just about the time of the year. I think, what was it, 2 years ago in Springfield when they were pulling out or they were disking up the fields and it was super windy like it probably is down there.
Oh,
They had that
yeah. And they had that
65
dust
car
storm and had a
crash.
55 car pile up. Yeah.
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 Not good. Not good.
That was right over by Chase's house.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it was. It was.
I remember that.
Pretty crazy. So for my teams yesterday, I sent out a tweet. It was really good. Like Justin won the Xfinity race. The Cards won. They're 2-0. Illinois won last
Illinois
night.
won.
Finally, we're going back to the Final Four. That's awesome. The Blues.
Yeah, I had him. I had him knocked out in the first round. To be honest.
Did
but
you?
That they played like such trash the last 3 weeks. Like it wasn't
I
even
know,
worth
it
watching
was
them anymore.
Terrible. They were a Final Four team, and then they were also a team that shouldn't even be in the tournament. Like throughout the year,
All in the same week.
Yeah, exactly. So, but pretty
Fucking
cool to see
terrible.
them go. I had, I think in my bracket, I had Houston beating them. So obviously they made it. And it out. What a run for Iowa! Like get hot, beat Florida. Like that's
I
crazy.
mean, the officials did everything they could do to get Iowa to win last night. But hey,
they tried.
you know,
It was a pretty tight called game for sure yesterday. But it was good to see him
Yeah.
squeak it out. It's always good too. And listen, I don't know much basketball, but I watch a lot of basketball. When they're not hot shooting threes and they were only down 4 at half, like it's
Yeah.
going to be good because they're going to get
Right.
hot and they're going to roll away, and they did eventually. So pretty crazy. We looked at tickets just to see for next week Final Four game. I think the cheapest ticket there was, it was like $648 a ticket, which is crazy. But I will also say they don't kick everybody out. So when you buy a Final Four ticket, you get both games because they're probably an hour and a half apart or an hour apart.
Right. So you're getting 2 games for.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still high, but
yeah, it's high, but man, if you're a lifelong Illinois fan, and I mean the last time they made the championship was 05. They lost to North Carolina, but it's been a long drought since they've been there. It's pretty
yeah,
cool
yeah.
deal. Champaign was hopping. I
And they
saw
play
some.
who?
Go ahead.
Who do they play?
They'll play either the winner of Duke or UConn, which that I don't know if it's going on yet or not. I think it's a little bit later. So we'll find out. Oh, it's live right now.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. I know. That was the women. What time do they play?
That's
Cole,
the
did
women.
you see what time they play?
I did not, but I can look quick.
No, they play at 4. Tennessee and Michigan are getting ready to tip off here pretty soon. So that'll be the last of it. We almost had 3 Big Ten teams in the Final Four. That'd have been crazy. But
Yeah, well, we
Tennessee
can still have 2 with Michigan.
Yeah. I mean, Michigan's pretty stout. Surprising run by Tennessee. That's pretty good. UConn looked really bad at the end of the season, and I'm like, yeah, they're gonna get beat. I had them actually getting beat to UCLA, but they got to the tournament and just turned it back on. So that'll be a tough one for Duke, but I don't know. We'll see how that goes. And the Final Four is next Saturday, and then the championship will be a week from tomorrow, Monday. So winding down on that. Once we get to basketball, the NCAA tournament, like this season's about full on, right? Just across
Right.
all
And
America.
it's so late this year.
I know. Yeah.
It's
And
almost April. Like they're going to be playing the championship in April instead of in March.
Yeah. Well, I think usually the championship is in April. It's like usually the first week, but everything's back a week this year. And in all reality, what determines all that is a Super Bowl. They keep adding games and it keeps pushing everything back.
Right.
But they're, I guess, number one for a reason. So, cup race today. What time does that start? Pretty soon? 2:30? So I guess we got a couple hours left. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did
Denny
qualifying get rained out for them, or did they get
I think Hamlin's on the pole.
Hamlin's
so
on the pole?
I don't think it. Yeah.
No, I got it pulled up now. It looks like they ran. I know Xfinity was rained out, right?
It's O'Reilly's, but yeah.
Oh yeah, O'Reilly. Thank you. No, I need
How
to know.
stupid is that? That's so stupid.
It makes it tough. Everybody still calls it the Busch Series. Also, speaking of the Busch Series, hold her up, buddy. Get them. There you go. Nice product placement. We got some of those myself. I'm not allowed to keep those in the house though, so I don't have any in the house.
Why would you have them in the house?
You never know when you're going to need some brake clean, dog. I will say, as a pest control
Clean my
person,
pans with them.
little free advice out there. If you don't want to get our pest control service, you can get some brake clean, and it will take care of a lot of pests for you.
How about mayflies? Does it take care of mayflies?
It does, but you're going to be spraying like you're going to be looking like an idiot out there. Yeah, exactly.
Get that checkered flag out instead.
Do you get a lot of mayflies down there?
Oh, it's awful.
Is it? Yeah.
Awful.
Which is kind of crazy because
they're the size of pterodactyls.
Yeah, they're big. It is kind of crazy though because normally, a lot of mayflies hover around like when you get to like the Illinois River, the Mississippi, like down by Kentucky, like those rivers down there, those river towns, they get a lot of mayflies.
Yeah.
I don't know much about them because we don't really get them like y'all probably do down there, but it's been kind of weird.
They look
like
like mosquitoes on steroids.
On crack. Yeah.
Yeah, they're huge.
Yeah, they're big old gals.
I've seen snakes smaller.
I have too. I got a great snake story.
Oh, okay.
When I was a technician, pest control, we had to do this satellite place. And basically, it was like 4 guys in this big ass warehouse, and they were just sitting in front of like 75 TVs, right? Just on their computers, whatever else. And they have a video camera right outside the door, and like it has audio, right? So obviously, when they get deliveries, you have to get let in, whatever else. I was out there checking bait stations, and dude, this garter snake was in one of the bait stations. And dude, I opened up the box and I saw that bitch in there, and I screamed and I fell back. I fell on the ground, dropped my bucket, did all this stuff. And then I finally pressed the doorbell for them to come, let me inside. And they are just dying laughing. They had it up and they were like replaying it. I'm screaming like a bitch out there. It was bad. I'm like, so from that point on, and I tell all my technicians, hey, when you're checking outside stations and there's like tall grass, kick them bitches. Kick them, because if you kick, shit'll come out. But yeah, I didn't do that. I screamed like a bitch. They're probably still playing that video from like 6 years ago.
Whenever they're having a bad day, they just hit the button and it plays it.
Oh, I need something to cheer me up today. I'm gonna make fun of this loser.
Yeah, I'm sure I've probably been on a lot of those videos that help out other people for sure.
Oh, it's all good.
You'll have that, right?
We've all had those moments.
All right, so obviously I wanted to have you on. We oh my goodness, we have so many stories, and I'm trying to think. We were talking off air, like, man, we gotta probably get a couple stories out there. I'm just trying to think. I will say, you made your sprint car debut in one of our cars at Lucas Oil. That was a fun weekend. Was that Dragon Drool weekend or no?
Was it a what?
The Dragon Drool when we were at Casey's, and I pissed myself, and the lady said, "What happened?" And I said it was Dragon Drool.
Oh yeah, absolutely was.
Oh my God. Yeah, we were ham-boned that night.
I said we had some beverages, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's where the emergency
Who was
underwear
it
and the
that
glove
was
box
riding
came
in the
from.
back of the truck eating pizza?
I was one in the back of the truck.
Was Corey in the
I
back?
think Brandon too.
I know I was riding up front.
I was
I
driving.
don't know. I don't think Brandon was with us at that point.
I don't think Brandon went to that one.
There's somebody else. I'm trying to remember.
It was Billy.
I think he.
But there was that.
Oh, Billy. Yeah, maybe Billy.
Yeah, it was Billy.
Yeah.
The very first year
Old Dragon Drool.
the very first year we went, I don't think you were there the very first time. And we stayed in the trailer. We had blowout matches. That was the year we were cooking sausage on the grill, and we didn't have no utensils. So B was using the channel locks to turn over the links. And then
this was the year
Tommy
that I
Rockwell's
went. Was the year
dad
after
came
that.
Tommy Rockwell's dad came in and just picked them up and turned them all. I'm like, man.
I'm pretty sure we still slept in the trailer.
Oh yeah, we did
second
every
year.
time.
Yeah.
Except for one year, Colby and I slept in my truck with the doors open because I was too long to sleep in the back. It was 98 degrees. It was miserable.
Yeah.
I think that was the year we could only run one night
Yeah,
because you
that
didn't
was
get
the
back
year we
from
went
work
home,
or
I think.
vacation or something.
No, Jeff's birthday was the next night, and I came home.
That's right. Yeah.
We sucked anyway, so it worked out. But yeah,
And that was always a fun trip.
Lucas Oil is a lot of fun. I miss going to that race so much. God, we had fun.
Yeah, it was. That whole place is fun. It's such a nice facility. The food's good.
Yes.
Racing's usually pretty decent, even when the track's not very good.
Right.
But
it's still fast enough that it makes it good.
I mean, now that Shimon's taken it over, the surface has been a lot better the last couple of years.
Yeah.
They spent a lot of time and effort getting that deal a lot better overall.
Yeah.
And they have a lot more bigger shows now than they used to, so that's good for it's good for them. They were on the brinks of talking about closing the place down because they couldn't get anybody in the stands, even for the
It's not crazy. I was thinking about that when I was looking at video the other day. When we'd go to the ASCS was there at the time when we would run, but Friday and Saturday were usually pretty good, but Thursday there was only 200 people in the state. It was super weird why people didn't show up during the week.
Well, and now that they've got a lot more mid races now, that's more of a thing in the last, I'd say 3 to 5 years than it's been before.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're looking at the late model deal, the high limit deal, World of Outlaws, I don't think have run there yet because of the Lucas affiliation, but
the high limit,
and the sprint car deal,
Power I, yeah.
Right. And yeah, anytime we go there before a Friday or Saturday, even some Friday nights were empty.
Yeah.
But now that the midweek racing is more of a thing across the board, that it seems to be better, as
Yeah.
far as that part of it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it depends on the class too, what you're
Sure.
bringing to the table,
Yeah.
and whether you have
Well,
17 classes that run alongside of them, that's the other side
yeah.
of it.
Yeah. Another thing to think about too, I think with some of the tracks, tracks that run weekly, right? They get a good turnout. But if you have a track that's like, hey, big events only, they're always filling it. And they might run 7 times a
Yeah.
year, which doesn't always do great for the racing surface, right? But with that being said, hey, when shit's in town, like everybody's showing up because hey, it happens once a
Right.
month or whatever. So,
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
there's some positivity to that too, I think. And we talk about
Well, from
high
a
limit.
race,
Go ahead.
well, just from a racetrack or promoter standpoint, like you know what it costs for the year, right? So, I mean, if you can book just a certain number or a certain level of quality series, like that, is going to bring the people in, then it makes it a whole lot easier to. Man, we only have
Yeah.
to do 6 races. You know, we know those 6 races are going to be sold out, where they pay for the year and make a little money without having the cost
Right.
of losing money on a weekly basis because they don't have the support.
Yeah. Well, another thing, when you brought that up, I started thinking about this too. I don't know, is it just the Outlaws that do this? I don't know if Lucas Oil Late Models do this, but some events, basically they hand the track over to the series. So they make all the money and then they get concession stands or however they worry about that, work that out. But then some races you go to and it's like, hey, they're promoting it, but we're taking all the money. Like, does that happen? Do you know, like in high limit and stuff, do they do that or is it all?
That I'm not sure of as much on the high limit side because we don't. I don't know. I don't have didn't have an affiliation with that side of it. But like the World Racing Group, they do a lot of track rentals for their own promotion. Now, and on the other side of that though, like some tracks want that side of it too. It probably depends on the track, but yeah, and that's kind of one of the downfalls of the extreme deal. They were renting more racetracks in order to book races than people were wanting to bring the midgets in.
Yeah.
So that's a win lose. Like if you're not getting the back gate money and or there's nobody in the stands, it makes it super tough, as a series to be
Keep
successful.
going. Yeah.
Everybody has their own opinion of what they could have done to make that better. Biggest problem is that they don't want to listen to what the racers are asking for to help them be successful. They just worry about what the dollar sign is at the end of the year,
Well, I
which I
think
get it. It's a business, but I mean,
sure.
there's ways for everybody to be successful. They just choose not to. And on a deal like that, they got the late models and the sprint cars. They don't have to
Right.
rely on.
Well, and they also
You
have
know.
ASCS too, right now. So
Well, yeah, and now with the ASCS deal, which I don't know, like I hear a whole lot less about the ASCS now than I remember before it was owned by the World Racing Group. So,
I agree.
Cody has done a great job across the board in just about anything that he's been a part of, and now that he's moved up to the World Outlaw deal and not the ASCS deal, like it's even less of a, I mean, it's a note at the bottom of the page now. Which isn't fair to the guys that are spending the time and the money to go run that series. So,
Yeah. Well,
um,
it's crazy too. So I think a couple things with 360s is, now we're bringing in aluminum motors. With that being said, there's some teams that were with ASCS that, I know they're traveling, but there was no other 360 program. I mean, realistically, there was no other real wing program other than like when you get down to Texas. Now that Power Eye's here, well, they have
well, other
410s.
than
Like I think,
Nebraska,
yeah,
Nebraska Eagle Raceway has that 360 deal.
right. Yeah,
Or
the
had. I'm
MTS.
sure they still do, along with the 305 deal there.
Yeah.
But you're right. Unfortunately, it's why do they go to aluminum? It's the same deal with the Silver Crown series. There's steel block with aluminum heads. You could only have a certain cubic inch and blah blah blah. And then the aluminum motors had to be less cubic inch than the steel blocks. Well, now everybody's got basically the same stuff across the board. I don't know whether that's because there's less steel block stuff out there.
Well, I think
And
that's a big piece of it because like during COVID to get like Rodec blocks, like even the steel stuff, like you couldn't get it for a while, right? So then it's like, hey, we don't have these sitting around, like we did.
yeah,
But then I
and with
wonder,
the foundry closing, go ahead.
no, I just wonder, like, the MTS 360. I think that's what they are. The one out in Nebraska. I know Chris runs that deal. That and the Sprint Invaders. Like, at what point do those series fall apart because they had ASCS backing or the rules package was across the board? Now we got different rules. You might not have the car counts that you do, and like as you know, once you get the car counts down, do they survive?
Then everything
You got to find a
falters.
way
Yeah.
to make it work.
Well, I think the guys here, the OROCRS or whatever, that's your
Yeah.
local, they've taken the 305 carbureted and the two barrel injected, or the 2-barrel carbureted and injected and kind of merged it into one deal, really is,
Something.
as opposed to having two different series competing for the same area,
Yep.
and they do still have their own
Racers.
they have their own, like there's a couple of different 305 series, but there is not enough cohesion across the board, across the country in that respect. There's too many different levels of
Variations.
That's the same with the D2 package deal there local to you guys. Like, why are we getting in pissing matches with each other and splitting where this guy's got 6 cars at his racetrack and this guy has 18? I mean, why not have 24 together? This whole whose dick's longer deal from a rule standpoint is just
Yeah, it hurts. It hurts everybody.
it's dumb because then everybody's at a disadvantage or some guys are at a disadvantage motor wise when they do get an opportunity where everybody runs together.
Yeah.
Then why would I even go? I'm just going to stay home.
Right.
Well,
and here's my thing, and this is probably, listen, I've probably talked about this on this podcast before, but and I'm probably in the minority, right? You're a car owner. I'm a car owner. This shit costs a lot of money. Right. And no matter what, obviously we want to see good racing. We want the product to be, what fans want to come watch. I think the biggest thing that we continue to forget to do, like, why are we making tires softer and softer and softer? And, now we got this piece where, hey, we can hook up all this horsepower. Now we can spend wazoo money at the engine builders. We can spend wazoo money on the shocks because the technology's so good. When if you put guys on a little bit harder tire, it equalizes it out. And I'm not trying to sound like a communist or anything like that. I'm just wondering, hey, for the betterment of the sport, to keep folks in that are hanging on the edge of, hey, we barely have enough money to keep going. Like, if it gets any more, I got to get out. Well, then next thing you know, your car counts at local places, Farmer City, up here, Fairbury, like we're dwindling below having B mains anymore. And it's like we're pricing ourselves out. And at some point here, between, like we're talking about with the groups, like, hey, we got 6 cars over here and 18 over here. Why don't we figure out a way to work together? What can we do to bring that together to make, bounce that around?
Oh,
girl. What up?
So here's my thing with that.
I figured I'd
One of the
drop in
best
and say hi
things
real quick,
midget
boys.
racing.
Hey, thanks for making
Hi,
a
pal.
cameo.
Yeah. Why
I
does
love
Jay
that
look
hair.
like Santa Claus?
Because we're getting ready to give some gifts away.
Don't hide in the
You
back.
didn't make the nice list.
No. No, I figured I'd drop in and say hi. But
All right.
I'll let you go because I can't hear shit.
We can't either. Have a good day. Good luck.
See
Have
ya.
some fun. I can't hear shit.
How do I boot him?
Oh,
I got to boot him.
You just mute his ass.
I'm running out of service.
There you go.
I could
So in that same respect, though, like one of the best things in recent, I mean, there's a long way to go, right? As far as trying to figure out how to curb costs, that part of it is never going to happen. But
No,
at the midget level, when they just mandated the same right rear tire for everybody, that was one of, I mean, to a certain extent early on, yeah, it kind of leveled the playing field. Not so much. I mean, we're faster on a harder tire, breaking more track records that were 15, 12, 108 years old, whatever they might be, on a harder tire with the surface not being any better than it was before, while the racing, I agree, is better as a whole overall, I mean, that something like that is only going to band-aid the situation for so long. Because then they're going to figure out ways to get better with that particular product.
Right.
But I mean, there are too many open rules in the sense that everybody has a different rule. Where if the sprint car world could be like, hey, this right rear is the one you got to run, whether it's high limit, whether it's World of Outlaws, whether it's ASCS, like just limited across the board, or Power I 410s, that's so new to me. I don't even, I mean, that's their big deal right now, which is good for them. And Talon Turner has put in a lot of work to get that developed. And, it's on its way to being successful. But that's the thing. It's like, why have another major touring 410 series on top of, it's like, I don't know. If you're going to do something like that, I would think that you're going to have more success even if it was 4 or 5 tracks in a local part of the country where when guys were off, they could come run, as opposed to being a touring series alongside the other 3 or the other 2,
And I think
you're still dividing it up.
Yeah, I agree. I think that is the biggest part of car counts dwindling. Is there is so many traveling series. There's so many different like we're talking about rule sets for different tracks for different truck cars. It's like there's so much.
Is that 410 or 360?
The what?
The IRA group out of Wisconsin or whatever they're. Yeah, I mean they don't travel as much.
Like,
I mean they do, but
right, like MOA
or travel as far, I should say. Yeah, or
MOA
MOA
has 10 races on the schedule now. It's like 7 and then 3 for a champion. Like, IRA's sucked itself down, to kind of take over MOA, and Power I has increased. Like, I think originally Power I 410, there wasn't anything in Missouri. There wasn't anything in Oklahoma. Really, there wasn't much with Texas, right? Other than travel. So like that little stretch right there, I think was probably pretty good to have 410s, but that's why ASCS was so popular, because that was the only wing sprint car group, kind of in the area. And now, hey, we got 2. We talk about high limit and, how good it's been for the sport. We look at Outlaws versus high limit and we're getting decent car counts at both. But at what point is it too much, right? Like you said earlier, before, and I'm not knocking high limit at all. I think, the product's outstanding. But when the Outlaws came to town or when, the Outlaw late miles or the Lucas Oil late mile, like it was a hot ticket. But now you got 10 different groups. It's a hot ticket every night. It can't be, right? We talk about that too. Like you oversaturate it. You oversaturate the product, and where are we at?
It loses.
Sure. And I don't
well,
know
not only
the
that,
best.
but the average race fan isn't going to be able to go to 10 major shows a year.
No, it's too much. Costs too much.
Yeah.
The NASCAR people are fighting the fuel thing right now. I just saw a report last night. It's like a lot of the fans are tough for Martinsville because gas prices are so high. We're back to that. Or if you're traveling, hey, them hotels and everything are running up those prices when, that's in town. That shit happens with the high limit series and the Outlaws. Like, I mean, it's happening, so.
Right.
I don't know what can we do because, all of us here and Colby, obviously you're a little bit younger than Jay and I, but like, what can we do now that we're getting older and, our time is passing, but what can we do right now to save our sport? Because it's like everything we do today is, hey, we need to leave this thing to the next group. Like what is it that we can do to save our sport? Because our sport is tremendous. It is absolutely phenomenal. It's so expensive. What I mean? It makes it hard for the average guy to be able to do it anymore. And once you get to that point and you get some of those lower buck teams that run the back out of the sport and there's only 12 left, is the product as good? I'm not saying it's not, and it probably would be for a little bit, but eventually there might be 3 more hop off there and then you got 9, so.
Yeah. People aren't going to show up to watch 12 cars.
No, they're not.
That's the hard part.
Even if they're the best in the country, they are not.
Right. I mean, that's a good question. I don't really have an answer for that because to a certain extent, and I don't know exactly all the benefits or disadvantages, however, whatever side of the fence you're on, of how the high limit deal is being run. But from what little I know or have heard, like it's based, that series is run for the racer, where as opposed to World Racing Group, it's run for World Racing Group. There is no, I mean, and that's a pitch and match on both sides. There are those that are loyal to the World Racing Group or the World of Outlaws on, even with the late model. I mean, same deal with the Lucas versus the World of Outlaw late model deal. While it's a business, for World Racing Group, even for High Limit, but High Limit, I mean, I don't know enough about it really, but, they're doing what they can to help those guys that are 15th to 45th, where World of Outlaws is just
Top
more
10.
focused on their platinum members, than those
Yeah.
guys that are going to show up, and not to say that they're not helping them out, but they're not helping them out in the same
Right.
regard.
Right.
So,
You're keeping them down. You're not elevating your bottom guys up,
and they're never going to be a 10th or better,
Right.
because they're still at a disadvantage, where the high limit deal, while you still have some former World of Outlaw guys and heavy hitters, even in this new generation of drivers, there's some of those 12th through 16th, 18th guys that might have a really good night and run and when they do, they get that recognition. It's not, I mean, while it's a surprise, it's not portrayed as like this is a once in a lifetime thing, where like on the other
Mhm.
side of that, it's like, oh, you'll never guess. Like that'll never happen again. Like just the way, and some of that's the way it's worded through the article too. But
Mhm.
Well, and I think another
I,
advantage too that High Limit has is, so when they form the series, Outlaws have their tracks, right? We're going to this track, we're going to this track, we're going to this track, and they always go to those tracks. High Limit comes in. Now we're getting sprint cars at tracks that have never had them before. So there's
Mhm.
tons of excitement around that, right? So like such a
right.
huge advantage for High Limit to be able to go to some of these places. And I'll use the Outlaws for a perfect example. The Outlaws have never been to Creek County. Did they run red dirt or they're supposed to? There was some,
The Outlaws never did. High Limit did.
yeah, and I guess it was ASCS before that ran, which was cool during COVID. Like
Yeah.
we're getting sprint car, and red dirt was probably one of the best ASCS races in the last 10 years. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, it was
Yeah.
incredible, and they have such an advantage of that. But like, okay, so Creek County has the Outlaws for the very first time ever, and they packed the place, and it was
Yeah.
a hot ticket. It was a good race. I know it took radar or rubber and whatever at the very end, but it was a pretty good race overall, up until the end.
Yeah.
But just having those pieces, and I think that's what that's what High Limit's done so well is, during the broadcast, even it's an event, right? Like they're talking to fans, they're spinning a wheel, they're doing all these different things, and I think that's why they have so much viewership right now.
Right.
Look at the Outlaw thing and look at Dirt Vision, like
And the
it's
racing
expensive.
is better. The
Yeah.
racing is better.
Yep.
You're gonna watch a variety of 5 to 8 guys be successful there through the year. Where at the outlaw level, you got the same three.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm not tuning in to watch the same 3 guys win every week.
Go at it.
Like, and you're right. Like, and I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just me being biased about one versus the other. But there isn't anybody at the outlaw level I would even care to watch. So that's the thing. Like my dad would say, I wouldn't walk across the street to watch stock cars. I wouldn't walk across the street to fucking watch David Gravel fucking stink the place up. That guy's a fucking turd. So like,
I was waiting for the gravel.
fuck that guy. He's such a
Jay's
whiny
a-
bitch.
Jay's a big
Yeah.
gravel fan.
Yeah. But that's the thing
So-
is like, I wish Buddy was at the high limit level. I mean, he's
Yeah.
the only other one that's over there. Macedo,
Messino,
don't
maybe,
mind. I mean, I'm glad when he wins when Gravel doesn't. But like at the same token, like
Yeah.
he fucking
Same
crashes everybody for 4th, 5th, 6th too. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
you're gonna race like your fucking dick's bigger than everybody. Then actually do it. Don't fucking crash them to get there.
Right.
Those guys are harder to have a good opinion of because they race the way that they do. Where at the high limit level, other than the
Everybody's
Jace
respectable.
Parkins, well, that was World of Outlaws, I guess. I don't know. Jace Parks is on fucking everybody's hate list right now, but
Yeah, he got a whole spin around in front of the whole group last night or something.
unfortunately for that kid, dude's a clown. It's just we're getting off topic here,
But
but it's just that kind of look at the product difference.
yeah,
Do you see that at the high limit level ever? Like not to like last night is not a fair example, but like,
well,
but that's the thing. Like you get some of these guys that really have no business being out there, which is true of every racetrack, at all different levels,
I've been
but
that guy before. Like I've been the one like, why didn't Shoemaker stay home? I get it.
right.
I
Well,
mean,
yeah, we all
definitely.
have.
But
We all have. Yeah.
sure. Well, so one thing, and this kind of parlays into this, it was interesting. Antoine Hernandez was on Twitter, and him and I were chatting a little bit about USAC and how the crossover of guys went from USAC to running wing cars. Very interesting dynamic piece. And I think, and maybe this is somewhere where the Outlaws are at too. USAC, obviously they had the IndyCar series for a while too, but like so much prestige, right? When Gordon and Stewart and Newman and Kenny Irwin, these guys were traveling over into the Cup Series and getting over, like USAC midgets and USAC sprint cars had such a lure, right? Where that is, I think USAC has been driving that piece on the prestige. It's the old hats that love USAC racing. And then, around 2010, 2012, there was a transition when guys started going to the wing stuff because it was more money. Here's another thing, we thought about too. USAC predominantly, you had the West Coast. So you're in California, basically, Arizona, big areas for USAC sprint cars, USAC midgets. And then otherwise you had to come to Indiana, right? And so you had two places that were predominantly, that non-wing portion where you had wing cars all over the country. You had them in Pennsylvania, you had them in Ohio, you had them in Illinois, Wisconsin, Nebraska, out west, like down south. You had an option, whereas a driver, I'm going to get a ride, right? Like, and there's so many more rides available on the wing side, which I think really transitioned that, right? And I think, what that's done is it's changed the racing. We talk about the Outlaws and their mentality, how, they're looking out for World Racing Group, right? Maybe the drivers drive that way also, and that's why we're seeing three guys that dominate right now and where it's at. And High Limits knew, hey, this, we're not all about the group. We're about the racers, that is in the group. And maybe that's the piece to it.
Here's the problem though. Those guys are going high limit racing. They're not going World of Outlaw racing.
Sure. No, absolutely. Because the product.
That's what I'm saying. Like if Buddy hadn't had his deal with Toyota, he wouldn't be at the outlaw level. He'd be at high limit.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah, you talk to a sponsor, right? A sponsor, the
World Racing Group is not doing anything to bring new drivers in without corporate sponsorship. That's the problem. Right. That's why I'm saying the high limit deal is more a racers group for guys that have been doing this, want to do it for a living, or guys that are graduating. Eddie Bacon is a perfect example. Now, yeah, he's won an outlaw race and has some, and I think he's equally as good at both levels, but more often than not, he chooses to go high limit racing than World of Outlaw racing. There's a reason for that. Some of it might be logistical, and what's available with his current schedule.
USAC dealers and all that.
Yeah, I mean, KT, he'll kind of just run whatever, but he's a good example too, other than the Knoxville Nationals and the shows that Hobstadt with the Outlaws, like he hasn't really run much outlaw stuff. He's run some high limit stuff. He's run some 360 stuff. He's run some Power I-410 stuff. Like, those guys, some of them are taking what's available, but they also are looking at what that looks like for them from a driver standpoint also.
Well, and perfect example also. And I don't know the ins and outs of either series, between the Outlaws and High Limit, but where are we at on sponsorship, right? Like you bring a company in and I feel like right now the High Limit series is all the glitz and like, that's where a company wants to be right now. You know, the outlaw thing is living on its legacy, much like and I'm not saying USAC is not good, but I feel like USAC is in the same position, right? We're
Here's the
living
thing.
on the past 60
What is
years of.
USAC going to do? Go ahead. Finish your thought.
No, I was just saying, I think, the companies coming in, the high limit series makes it so appealing to companies because it's new. It's got a lot of stuff. We're not worried about the 60 years that was ASCS, right? Or I mean, All Stars, right? Like we're a new group and we bring in all these good ideas. We got them on Flow. We're putting them on FS1. The first race from Vado was on FS1. That's how we bring this back, right? Like USAC before was on ESPN, and then obviously we lost all the TV deals. The Outlaws were on TNN, lost all that, right? So then really the streaming network was provided from the racing community. You talk about where Flow is today. We got Flow Hockey, we got Flow Track, we got, all Flow Wrestling, all of these. It was all because of racing, right? But the product is so good for high limit. That's where your sponsorship wants to go, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think with the pricing between Flow and Dirt Vision, if companies are doing their homework, they will want to go with high limit because they can be in front of more people because Flow is a little more easy for your
You get different
guys to get
genres
into.
on. Yeah. You might have wrestling people. You might have hockey
Dirt
people.
Vision is just racing,
Yeah.
which nothing against that. And if it weren't for the extreme deal being run by the World Racing Group, I wouldn't even have Dirt Vision.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, and same for me
that's
with
the other side. Like
Jacksonville.
there isn't a series that we're running with other than USAC when we run with USAC that we'd be on Flow. The start to finish deal that, the Power I deal has, it's slowly gaining some, traction in the sense that they've got some more variety, between the micros. I mean, a lot of it is racetrack, right? You look at Flow and they got 10 different tracks that they show weekly, on top of whoever. Dirt Vision has started to do that in some sense also, but you're not going to gain the notoriety or popularity like Dirt Vision or Flow have without, increasing your volume of people wanting to see what your product is providing. So, and that's the thing, like in that sense, the market is so washed out, like you can watch sprint cars and midgets and silver crown cars, wing, non-wing, stock cars, late models on any of them. It's like, why would you spend the money to have 3 different streaming services if you're for the average racer, right? We have some investment because our cars are racing on the different platforms.
Sure.
So it's different for us than the average guy. But I mean, there are some that are diehard, strictly Dirt Vision, strictly Flow, strictly, whatever it might be. But why would one person buy into more than one? Even though like I want to watch the Outlaws, but I have to do this to watch them, as opposed to, hey, the product is better over here.
That's a perfect example because you go to Eldora and when we're running the 4 Crown and we got USAC and we got Outlaws, you can't the USAC cars are out now. I got to switch back to Flow. The Outlaws are out now. I got to switch back to Dirt Vision. There's just it's too much of a jumbled mess, to be honest with you. I think that's where we're at, and I don't necessarily have a preference. Like Jay said, he must have. Take a piss, which that happens on this show, by the way, Jay. I've definitely had to get off air to pee. But with that being said, I think from a racer's standpoint or an owner's standpoint, we're probably watching all of the different functions because we're trying to learn, we're trying to get intel and whatever else. It's not so much that and there might be, hey man, I want to kick back, pop open a beer, and I want to watch the Outlaws. Or same thing with High Limit on Flow or USAC. We're watching it because we're trying to learn. We're trying to see, what's going on with it, how we can get better, right? So that's probably where the racers are the ones who probably have more platforms that we're, on to be able to watch that for sure. But yeah, I don't know.
So not to change the subject, but I wanted to jump back a second when you were referring to the USAC deal.
Yeah.
There are a lot of the opinion that it's just the good old boys group, and that those that are not part of that particular group don't get treated the same. Now, while I have never had any issue where I just called them out in that respect. They do run a good program. They are pretty fair about, I mean, there is some good old boys part of it to a certain extent. But my biggest thing with that whole deal is what are they going to do when those good old boys are gone?
That's
Because
what I'm
that core
afraid
group
of.
has
Yeah.
been there for so long that another 2, 3, 4 years, either they're going to go where the money is or they're just going to retire. Like
Yep.
then what? Like this next wave or
Yeah, and
generation
they're
of
going to be
racer
driving to
isn't
the Indiana tracks to watch. Yeah.
right. There isn't that next generation of guy right now. I mean, there is, but the group is significantly smaller,
Yeah.
than the group that's been there for the last 10 years. So like how do they figure out how to succeed when those guys move on and continue the same product with the same racing?
Yeah, I mean, I think, and we all know, right? Like we watched the glory days of USAC and we were a part of some of that, too. And, going over to Indiana and just the prestige of it, being tied to the Indianapolis 500 and the prestige of that, right? Like all of that is so cool. And the history is so good. But at what point, who's going to carry that candle?
You would get more drivers back if they increased purses.
I like that the purses would be better. I think in all reality, when we're talking about it, I think the purse needs to be throughout, right? Not just at the
Mhm.
top. You gotta take care of the guys showing up, even though they might not be the show, because they're part of the show,
Mhm.
right? So
Yeah.
more tow money, more middle money. A lot of places,
Mhm.
once you get to 10th on back is the same amount of money. What's their incentive to stay out on the racetrack? Hey, if I get to 11th and I'm down, hey, he's back. He's back. Colby has a really good question.
All right, hold on. Give me 1 second. I got to get a charger. My phone's about to die, so I tried to plug it in, and then I lost you guys. So give me just a
Okay.
minute.
All right. We'll hang tight for you. Here you go. Oh, I'm going to wait. So we're going to pause this, Cole. You stay on.
Okay.
So when Jay gets back, I got to go pee.
Okay.
I'll edit this part out and we can re-ask your question. So hold on.
I think go piss too.
Yeah.
There. Shit. Crash. Okay. That's better. Now I won't die at least. Service part I can't really help.
Yeah.
My TV keeps going in and out, so I know the Wi-Fi keeps going in and out.
I'm back.
All right.
Okay.
Ready for me to re-ask?
Yes. Re-ask because it's a good question. I like it.
Okay.
Hold on.
So since you two own race teams and have been racers, my question is, do you think you could, as a sport, we could draw in more drivers by increasing the purses, overall purses?
If you pay better from your start money is where it's at. I have learned or have witnessed, I guess, not so much learned, that it doesn't matter what it pays to win. I mean,
Mhm.
we had obviously uh logistics and location kind of matter to a certain extent, but like USAC had that 3-day show in out there in Dakota.
Street Springs?
What's the track? No, out North Dakota, South Dakota, whatever it is. Huset's had that
Oh,
3-day
yeah.
show at
Houston.
Huset's, and it was like 25,000 or 50,000. I don't know what it was, something stupid to win, and they had 18 cars.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter what it
Mhm.
pays because the same guys are going to win the money in order. And this
Okay.
is the biggest problem
That's
with Extreme, in my opinion. They kept asking, well, we got to figure out a way to get fans in the stands and cars in the pits and blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, until you start paying more money to start, you're not going to get people to travel. The biggest problem is having the number of cars and what that back gate is bringing in. That's what everybody looks at. The fans are the fans.
Mhm.
Now, in Jacksonville is a perfect example. Like at the end of the year, the last couple of years when Extreme was running that weekend, they were basically running the whole weekend. They rented the track, even though the sprint cars were still racing. While there were fans in the stands, one, because the sprint
Mhm.
cars and midgets, I think, huge crowds in the right areas, it's still a loss,
Mhm.
because they're having to cover the whole deal because and that's not necessarily a good example as far as car count, but like the biggest deal, like going to Peevely, one, it's big. You're not going to get a lot of cars. It's with the World of Outlaws. To have a full field and not run a B, personally, that's great. As a car owner, I'd rather not wait around the extra time because we're already waiting so long because the Outlaws are the deal, right? But until series start I mean, the 4 or 5,000 to win at the USAC level, some special races at 10 grand to win. While that's, I mean, to the normal person, that's good money, but that isn't anywhere near where it should be for the cost to do it. Okay. Or to build a car. But that's probably true across the board in a certain extent, except for at the level that the high limit and the outlaw Lucas Oil guys are.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they're making hundreds of $1,000s a year, because they pay so much, they pay so well, and they pay. I mean, by percentage, they're paid more through the field than what we are, and our cars are equally as expensive. Now, maybe we're all dumb for being midget racers. I mean,
Well, we're all
maybe that's
dumb
it.
for
But
being racers anyways, because it's all too
we
expensive.
couldn't afford to start over in a series where it pays good, so like no matter what, you're at a disadvantage. But from a series standpoint, the only way you're going to get car count or guys, especially if you're going to run a touring series, is you got to pay the back of the field, make it worth to the guys to travel to the racetrack. Otherwise, you're going to get the same 10 or 15 guys that run Jacksonville every Friday night, because it's within an hour of the racetrack, or wherever.
No, I
it
said
might
the
be,
same thing. I think you hit it on the head for sure, because if you don't take care of the bottom, past 10th place, you're not going to have any more than 10 cars. You're just not.
Yeah.
I think, Colby, your question that directly says, would you have more drivers? I think that piece has changed, because even, when I signed my ARCA contract, like, you had to bring $1.2 million worth of sponsorship, right? At the cup level, at the truck level, IndyCar level. Like, I was at the Indy 500 practice, and we were in the garage area, and I remember one of the Andretti's just literally brought a briefcase full of cash and stole someone's ride, right? So with that being said, that's been at play for 20 years, on that level. Now, drivers are renting rides in sprint cars and midgets and stock car. Like, it hasn't 100% like went over to the stock car side as much as it has on our side. But I would say that question probably needs to be more for the car owners, because the drivers are paying to have the ride regardless of what it is and where it's at, versus, hey, I want to take my stuff. You do still have the guys like myself that are an owner driver, which are probably the biggest idiot of the whole sport. But outside of that, Jay hit it perfect on the head. If you don't pay the bottom half and you don't get people to travel, like, if we're going to dump money into the purses, it needs to go from 10th on back. Like, it really does. You might bump up a little bit to win and get one or two guys to come. But if you bump 10th on down, you're going to get 20 guys to show up. That's the difference.
Right.
And so what do you want? Do you want one or two guys that are an all-star to show up and run against 10 cars? Or do you want 20 decent cars, right? Like, that's where I think we fail across the board on that. Tracks, series, everything. We need to pay more to the back.
Well, that's a two-sided coin, I think, too.
Sure,
Like, from a
you're
series
right.
standpoint, that's what they need to do for the series to be more successful, in the sense of having good car counts start to finish through the year. Obviously, you're going to have better car counts at some places because of the localization of cars available in the area, which your overall average of cars for the year needs to increase. And the only way that you can do that as a series, not the only way, but the biggest way to do that as a series, is that 10th to 22nd or 24th, whatever it is. Now, tow money is nice in the sense that they're offering something, but $100 a car is not enough,
It ain't
because
doing nothing.
it needs to, especially if you're going to pay. I mean, what you're paying just to show up and run without even taking a lap, $100 a car or whatever it might be a night, doesn't cover the bill. That's
It
more
doesn't
of a
cover
slap in the
most.
face than anything.
You can't even pay to feed your crew that at night for $100 anymore.
Right. So, but on the rental side of it, as a car owner, like you're the same way. Being an owner operator was the thing back when we started, because that's what it was. There wasn't as much rent a ride stuff back then, right? Now, there were some groups. I mean, KKM's been around that long, but they, at that time, in my opinion, they were considered professional race car drivers driving for that team, not guys that were rent a ride, right? But like in today's game, fast forward 15 to 20 years, like I I've struggled through being a car owner and racing. Like, I know what that struggle is, right? So it's a little different for a lot of those that might be trying to graduate into the midget, where they own their own micro operation, they own their sprint car operation, whatever the situation might be, which is good. I mean, but
Yeah,
if
now
you're
you know how
going
to work on
to
it.
take that leap, if you're coming out of a successful program and you're all of a sudden like, well, I want to go midget racing. In today's game, it makes 0 sense to go spend $50,000 or $60,000 to buy a race car and then try to start at ground zero all over again. You know, that's what a lot of people don't understand. It's like, well, it's going to cost me that much to race. I could go buy one. Go ahead, pal. Go buy one and
Yeah.
struggle for the next 18 to 24 months while I run circles around you.
Dude, it might be longer than that.
That's your prerogative. 100% your prerogative. Or
Yeah.
Yeah.
you can spend that money and get you an X amount of races where you could win on night one, as opposed to being a field filler for the next 2 years and not really learn anything.
In fact, you probably learn bad habits and you go the opposite way. Now you've lost your confidence. You
Right.
can't do anything. Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, every one of them is different. Like I had a guy that I talked to off and on late summer, all through off season up to Chili Bowl. Like, they were all on board. Like, it makes a lot of sense. Then Chili Bowl comes around and they go buy a car and they go out last couple weekends ago and just are awful.
Struggle.
It's like, I mean, you just did exactly the opposite of what we talked about, and now you're suffering the consequences on top of now owning a piece of equipment that probably shouldn't have bought in the first place, because you're not going to sell it to someone at a competitive level to go race.
No, you're gonna pay for it.
You just
You're
want
gonna
it
be
in
able
the
to sell it
door,
maybe for
thinking
half.
you could do it, and now you figured out that you can't. You know,
Yeah.
it's just,
Yeah.
and I get
it's
it.
a
Like,
whole
there's a
new
lot of owner
dynamic now.
operators out there and there are a lot of guys out there. If you hire the right guy to help you with that part of it, then you're way ahead of the game, right? But if you're just a regular weekend warrior that has significant success at the level he's at and are just going to move up, I mean, everything is so expensive that's you're going backwards instead of forwards at that point.
Yeah. Well, like you said, if you're able to find somebody to help you, you still have to pay for everything and pay to bring
That guy.
somebody in. Yeah. Whereas, you know, you like if you're a racer trying to move up and you come to groups like you that already have the experience, that have the years of, hey, we've tried this 8 different ways and we figured out, hey, this is the way to go. If you can bypass those steps, that's essentially what you're buying, right? Like you said, you go out and buy your own race car and now you got to learn all these things that we've learned already. And and that's your biggest disadvantage piece, right? For sure. And guys like me, that I'm still doing it. Listen, I probably have 3 to 4 more years left in me of doing this. And that's all reality. You know, a lot of guys that I've raced with, you know, even you, Jay, that have gotten out of the seat at this point to kind of, you know, build your different career now as a car owner, right? When I step away, I'm probably done. Like I'm buying a boat, I'm buying a better set of golf clubs, and that's going to be my fucking life, right? Like I'll tune into Dirt Vision and Flow and I'll show up at the racetrack, but like once I'm done, I'm going to be done. And I got a few years left and I'm going to enjoy the hell out of it while I'm still here. And you know, try to chase a few more wins, you know, then I can feel like I can hang my helmet up and be, you know, it was a successful piece for me, right? So I'm in a much different position than a lot of these kids that are coming in and trying to, you know, move up. But that's the sport. That's where we're at, right? And obviously you wouldn't be doing what you're doing right now if that wasn't where the sport has gone. That's where our sport has gone. And it's an important piece. And maybe, you know, there might be a piece where, hey, you don't even like it. Maybe I don't like it on, you know, a lot of the old heads probably don't like the buy and, you know, arrive and drive deals and whatever else. But to be honest with you, if you're going to do it, that's how you do it. That's the success.
Well, if you're looking to
to
be
success.
successful, and that's the thing, it's like it really at the end of the day, it's all what you're after. Like, are you the midget deal is all about, while the product of racing is the purest form across the board, there's a lot of notoriety that goes along with it. I mean, if you're not looking at that side of it, then and you're just, I mean, I want to go midget racing. I'm gonna run 10 races a year. I mean, I can't justify having the kind of funding or
Expensive.
spending the kind of money it would take to run 10 races a year, but there are those out there, and
Sure.
more power to them. A lot of the guys that come out of a successful program looking to be successful moving forward have a decision to make, in the sense that, like, you might think you know what you need to know, and you do have the possibility to learn what you need to know, but are you willing to struggle the amount of time in between and spend the wasted money to figure it out, as opposed to jumping in something that you have the capability to be successful in for the same amount or less than what you would spend to struggle?
Yep.
Mhm.
And that's the thing. Like, it's the same old argument. Something tangible in my hand for that money, to most people, means more than, I mean, you just threw some money in a bucket and lit it on fire,
Yeah.
essentially.
Literally going to the
Which is
casino.
right, which is true of any form of racing.
Sure.
Whether you own your own car or drive for somebody else. Like, at the end of the day, that's what you're doing.
Yep.
But, like, there is that side of it where, well, I have a race car sitting in my shop now. I have something of value in return, but a lot of them don't ask enough questions or buy what they can afford, and don't have something as valuable as they thought when it comes time to try and get rid of it. It's just both sides of the coin are right. It's just
Yeah,
what the
it just fits what
value
you
of the
have.
dollar is what's
Yep.
different.
I mean, and I've been in positions too. I look back at, like, really for me when I changed over to wing stuff, and then after that, so like once I got into the 305 deal with the wing stuff, I'm like, all right, I'm in the ball game. I'm here. But now going through a season, hey, dude, my hubs ain't good enough, my brakes ain't good enough, all these things, and yeah, I have a value sitting in the shop, but I'm spinning my wheels because I haven't put the best product out there to be successful. Right. So then it's like, hey,
Right.
I got to elevate. I got to get better. I got to get better parts. I got to get lighter parts. I got to do these things. And thankfully for guys like us who have been around it for 40 years of our lives, we can figure that out. We've watched our dads build parts, right? I mean, there's some things that I'm not saying necessarily now that we build, but we still build some stuff that we still use today.
Yeah.
Now it might be in the trailer, for tools or whatever the case may be, but we can do that. A lot of the newer generation, they can't do that because they didn't live that
No.
life, right? So,
Right. They're just spending money. They're just hemorrhaging money in order to get the best of what they can,
Yep.
or they can afford.
Yep.
And
And that's
that's the thing. It all comes down to what you can afford. That's true. Same is
Mhm.
true of success. There's a lot of guys out there that have way more talent than money.
Sure.
Right. And that's one of the things that Gavin and I have kind of, prided ourselves on, in a certain extent, is that we came from the old school way of having to do it all ourselves. We made all the stupid decisions and learned the lessons the hard way. Now we're trying to pass
learn the hard
that
way, and it costs you.
knowledge onto someone else that doesn't have $350,000 to go run for a
Right.
year, which is fucking bonkers, by the way.
Right. It's crazy.
It's unreasonable, no matter whether you're running for me or you're running for those other guys, in the overall cost. But there's a way to do it at a more reasonable expense than spending that kind of money to do it. So it's just, and the knowledge that you're going to gain in the long run gives you a platform to kind of do what you want with when you're done, as opposed to when you figured out that you're not very good. Now, what are you going to do? Then you're further behind than where you started, and you spent all that money. Alex Skarpowicz is a perfect example. He ran a season with Keith, and now he's nowhere to be found. And in the 4 races he ran with us, he had more success. I mean, I could be biased, but several other people will tell you the same thing.
Sure.
Than he did through 30 nights with Keith. It's just, you don't. There are certain platforms that are built around helping the driver be successful, and then there are platforms that are, you're buying a product,
Plug and
and the
play.
product is what it is
For sure.
because it is
Well,
successful.
and you hit on a great point, and I know we're probably close to wrapping this thing up, but like you said,
Yeah, I got about 4
there's
minutes. So
probably
I gotta
more
go.
guys with talent, You what?
I got about 4 minutes and I got to go.
Okay. There are guys with more talent than money out there, probably, right? But we've also used to say it too. Hey, there's probably guys running at Farmer City. There's probably guys running at Creek County or wherever that maybe have more talent than the guys that are driving on TV on Sundays. That's accurate. You know, I know to
Oh,
the average
100%.
fan, they can't understand that piece, but you know, us being in the sport, we can
I
recognize
can think of
it.
100 guys
But
that are better than half the field
what
that
did they
runs on
do?
Sunday.
Go ahead.
I said there's 100 guys that are better than half the field that runs on Sunday.
And it's always been that way, right? Well, I say that. I think you know, back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, that probably wasn't the case. You know, those guys were the best.
Right.
Because, you know,
Right.
like we talked about with USAC, Mario Andretti may be running the Indy car at the Indy 500, and then he's going to Terre Haute to run the champ car, you know, or running a midget at Macon or whatever the case may be.
Right.
It was a lot different than it is now.
Well, they were running all those different
Everything.
series
Dirt, asphalt, Indy cars.
because that's what it was, you know. And I will say that's the one thing at the USAC level, you know, that's still, in my opinion, it's why USAC is what it is still, not so much that it's better necessarily from a product standpoint, but you still could go run quarter midgets, D2 midgets, non-wing sprint cars, Silver Crown cars. Like you still have one home you could go to and graduate your whole career through, you know, as opposed to just running midgets, just running sprint cars, you know, like some of the other, you know, and Power Eye's done a fairly reasonable job, you know, in recent years, you know, having the micro deal, having the midget deal, now having a wing deal, you know, where you could have a kid that could graduate out of micros and just live with the Power Eye family to a certain extent through their career. But a lot of the other don't have that. All the ones that get paid the money to race don't have that product from start to finish.
Right. For sure.
So the draw, I mean, everybody wants to go USAC racing, right? Because it is the most historic. You know, but at the end of the day, like, I mean, and it's the one that's survived the most, you know. I mean, everybody was hot and heavy over this extreme deal. And while it was better, I mean, it just fizzled out and took a shit, you know. You know, it's unfortunate because I enjoyed racing with them way better than any of the other groups, but it's just part of how the business works, you know.
For sure. I agree. Hey, this has been a really, really, really good chat. I did want to swing in real quick, though. Got a new one. Make sure you
Cowboy hat.
go to cowboyrevolution.com. Use the code Tyler Shoemaker for 15% off. I got a sweatshirt, too. Pretty legit, pretty comfy. So, Jay, thanks for thanks for coming on and being a part of this. This was probably our most productive podcast we've ever had. And usually it's just a bunch of bullshit. So it was really fun.
Well, I was just thinking, it's like we were talking beforehand how we were just going to have a good time and our cheeks weren't hurt from all the laughing. We didn't do much laughing this trip.
It was
Other than
legit.
Colby, he's always giggling about something.
Yeah, you're right.
It's all good. It's all good. I look forward to the next opportunity.
Yeah, we'll definitely
There's a
have
lot
you
of
on
things,
again, and maybe
a lot of things to touch on. You know, more on the serious note.
Yeah. No, we needed this. It was good. We'll probably be getting together, you know, throughout the year too, and maybe we can do one of these live. That'd be pretty fun too, like we used to do. So thanks for
We ought to do we ought to try and do a live deal when we're all together at Macon in a couple 3-4 weeks. That weekend there, and I don't know if is that June.
June.
Yeah, June, early June. We ought to just plan on that weekend, that Saturday morning before the races. You know, recapping the night before and making sure hog tying Brandon, make sure he's around.
Well, we got
Make sure he doesn't fall down the
really make
bleachers.
sure.
We got to make sure he doesn't fall down the bleachers. But
Yes, we got to make sure he stays in the wheelchair ramp part. But if we do that, we'll be good.
yeah, all good. So,
All
all right, guys. Well, it's been good. Looking forward to the next time. We'll chat soon.
For sure.
We'll see you.